This is 24 in 42. Here we go. Welcome to 24 and 42, where we get to the heart, life, universe, and everything of an author. And today we get to welcome William King, who anyone that knows me should know that name. But I had the pleasure of working with William on my last title, Neither Beg Nor Yield. And he's actually given me the permission to call him Bill. So, Bill, thank you. Welcome to the show, and tell us a bit about yourself.
There's not really much to tell. I'm a cranky old guy who lives in Prague, really. I write tie-in novels and fantasy novels mainly. I was, in an earlier life, a game developer on titles like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Man of War, things like that.
All right. When we get to the end, you'll get to talk about your recent titles, but I was actually quite surprised. The ones you shared with me seemed of a YA bent, a young adult bent.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll talk about that at the end.
Well, nobody's more surprised than me, let me tell you. So,
I was not aware of those, so I learned something right away. All right. I'm going to start our timer here. Now, for those familiar with the show, I give the authors 16 of the 24 questions in advance, mostly so things go smoothly, but there are 8 that are a little bit more tongue-in-cheek on the spot. We will see how Bill rolls. All right, we are starting our timer. So question number 1, I always start here. What color do you write in?
Drop a little too much acid back in the 70s, did you? I'm not even sure how to take that question. It's like, as you can probably tell, I favor blue to dress in. So it's almost certain I'll be writing something in blue. But I really, that question just has completely thrown me. So I'm just going to toss it back at you with some insults, obviously.
That's quite all right, but that got you rolling right away. You're all feisty now.
Oh, yeah. You better be careful. I'm Scottish. I start a fight in an empty room.
Yeah.
It's like,
we'll get
to... I have one.
Very good. Yep. All right, on a little bit more serious note, a little bit more about you. Did you grow up a city or country kid? And when you're out and about, were you playing with friends, family, or just by yourself?
Small town in the southwest of Scotland. One of those ones where when you're a kid, you think like Luke Skywalker, if there's a bright center of the universe, this is the place furthest from it. But as you get older, you realize that actually it was pretty idyllic, beautiful scenery, beaches, nice people. That bit was. I'm sorry, my computer's just informed me it's downloading an update. That's why I look suddenly so surprised. Let me return to that train of thought, get it back on the tracks. Where was I? Oh yeah, you were asking about did I play on my own? Lots of friends actually, also big family. Reading was my secret vice, obviously.
Did you read outside?
Yeah, read everywhere. It was a big thing.
I like asking that because I used to climb trees in the woods, and I even floated in the rivers on an inner tube reading a book.
Yeah. But never quite got that far, but certainly the tree thing I can identify with.
Yep. Cool. All right. Here's one of the surprise questions. What was
right, for example?
Exactly.
Okay, give me a second to prepare for it, Liam.
This one you'll be ready for. What was, or maybe still is, your favorite cartoon?
Oh my God. Growing up, it was Scooby-Doo, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Currently, it's a bit harder because there's so many high-quality cartoons floating around that I occasionally watch. And things I've never seen before that I'm only just becoming acquainted with, like Thunder, the Barbarian, which I only started watching a couple of years back because I'd never heard of it before.
Okay. So you're catching up on it, binging it, as they say.
Sort of rationing myself a bit. Like, to be honest, I mean, it's weird for 40 odd years. Yeah, I could take my time over watching it now.
Right.
It's just, it, it's so reminiscent of a lot of the stuff I grew up with, like, or actually I used to watch in my later teens and early 20s, he admitted guiltily, like Thundercats and Masters of the Universe and things like that.
Yep.
But obviously a bit earlier and slightly more graphically primitive, I think, but awesome ideas. And didn't Kirby work on it? Jack Kirby, I believe. Didn't he do concept art, or did I hallucinate that?
On Thundar?
Yeah. It was somebody really famous that I really liked when I was growing up.
Okay.
But obviously my aging brain cannot remember who. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, Scooby Doo.
Of course. Yeah, I absolutely love Scooby Doo too. See, that one wasn't too challenging. You had an answer.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So when you write, do you listen to anything? What assails your ears?
The theme music for Skyrim,
Wow.
sometimes The Witcher, actually. I read an article once that said a lot of computer game music is designed to elicit emotion without distracting you from what's happening in the game. And that's almost perfect for writing to, basically,
Sure.
because you're not going to get carried away and start singing the lyrics or
Right.
anything like that. So, and Skyrim sets a mood for me, basically. And one that's very conducive to writing fantasy, I think, as well. So,
Yep. And that was your selection in the Neither Beg Nor Yield soundtrack
yep,
that we put together.
yep,
So
yep,
ties in
yep.
well.
I'm being tested on this, am I?
Yeah. Hey, if you stumbled across the yellow brick road, would you follow it?
Yeah, probably, actually, Liam.
Yeah. What you looking for?
Now you're taking me back to the drug-addled 70s, it has to be said. So it's like, yeah, well, probably the Emerald City, I'm guessing, and possibly A Way Home, but who knows? Yeah.
I have some people that want to run, never go to the Emerald City, but they also don't want to go the other way to Munchkin Land either.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
All right, I have heard this is a very popular question. What were three of your favorite books as a teen or younger?
If it's books, I'd have to say The Lord of the Rings,
All right.
Dune, and The Wizard of Earthsea. If you were going to mention series, I'd have to throw in Conan there, but that's mostly short stories and novellas, basically. But those are the three. No escape.
Did you say Dune in the middle?
I did, yes. Yeah.
Wow. I know a lot. I actually, that was one I couldn't bite off. I've tried it twice. 20 years ago was the last time and never did anything for me.
Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me about it, it has to be said. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Earthsea was delightful, though. That was a really good series.
I mean, sort of Tolkien and Le Guin are at the opposite end of the spectrum for world building, but they're both amazingly good at it.
Right.
Like Earthsea's book at, I'm guessing, 60,000 words, but it unpacks a world as big as Middle Earth, I think,
Yeah.
which is an incredible feat. And it's mostly done by sort of sideways allusions rather than bonking you over the head with exposition as well, which, I mean, absolute model piece of world building for writing,
Right.
I think. Yeah.
Yep, it is. I work part time at a local bookshop, and I love having these conversations with people looking for something to read or something like
Mhm.
X. So I like getting people on those. What age do you think you started reading? Because those are some, at least Lord of the Rings and Dune, some pretty hefty series.
I read The Lord of the Rings when I was 13. I read The Wizard of Earthsea when I actually can probably pinpoint this date exactly because I read it in the local library when the British English language edition came out in, must have been 1971, so I would have been 11 then.
Okay.
And June, I was probably 14 or 15. It was recommended to me by somebody else
Okay.
because I was more a fantasy guy than a science fiction guy at that point. So,
Right.
um,
Balance things out a little bit. I find I used to be both pretty
mhm.
equally, but the last decade, 15 years, I've swung pretty hard more to the fantasy side.
Yeah, I've always been on that side. Like, I think June, yeah, it's got swords in it and sword fights and so on. So it's very easy for somebody who likes sword and sorcery to get into. At least I found it. So it's
Right.
also got those so the really strange tech, like ornithopters and things, that kind of
Right.
anachronistic, which Moorcock did in like the Runestaff series as well, which I had read before then. So it kind of echoed that for me as well. Yeah.
Okay. And getting that man on man battle in the Sandland and all that too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Also, a bit more defined than a lot of stuff I'd been reading up to that point. Like very specific characters, quite focused, and again, very good world building. You could tell I was a fan of that from an early age,
Sure.
really. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Would you call yourself? I'm adding a question. Would you call yourself a world? So I've always been under the impression readers and writers are either character oriented, plot oriented, or world building oriented setting. Which do you
Yep.
feel that you prefer to read?
I think we have to have all three of them, quite honestly, if it's fantasy. I mean, where I'd place the emphasis would probably be on character and plot
Yeah.
and world building, because you can have a well-plotted novel with good characters, and the world can be paper thin,
Yeah.
or not so detailed, or a mishmash of other things. Robert Jordan, I think, proves that. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Jordan was a great writer, but the world building is so obviously an amalgam of Lord of the Rings, Dune, and various other things,
Okay.
and it's really obvious if you're familiar with the sources that that's the case. So I kind of bounce out the world because of that, but the characters in the story keep me in, like always,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah. All right. I agree. You'll see, or you know already, that a lot of these questions are character oriented. So
Mhm.
we'll get a little deeper on that in a minute. What do you think is the best thing you've ever spent money on to further your own career?
Word processor, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I started before word processors with handwriting and typing. I could never have been a professional writer with a typewriter. It just was not possible for me. Too many mistakes. I'm too mean to spend money on correction fluids. Um, and it would, yeah, it just would never have worked. But word processors, yeah, yeah. Plus, it had technology attached to it, which I was always really big into. So
Okay.
it was so that yeah, no doubt whatsoever on that subject.
Hands
It was a
down.
dedicated word processor as well. It wasn't a computer. Yeah.
Yeah. Was I forgot what they're called, but was it the one with the little screen first?
In Britain, the company called Amstrad made these dedicated word processors, which I cannot. They might have been WP64 or something. They had a green cathode ray tube, and they had a really odd sized disk drive that nobody else used. And they ran CPM, if you remember CPM. And I can't remember which word processor it was, but I used Protext. I bought that and used it, which I later used on an Atari ST as well. So
Wow.
yeah, we're going back a bit there, but I mean we're talking the 80s, so it's like. But sorry, I completely lost track of the question now
Oh,
in my
that's fine.
technology. Um,
I think there'll be listeners fascinated by this little bit of glimpse of the 80s.
yeah, we had it hard back in the day. Yeah, so
Do you think it makes writing more difficult or somewhat easier if you, the writer, feel emotions strongly?
I don't think you can avoid it. I'm sorry, I give this answer to all your questions, I'm now realizing, which is that you know, like there's, I think people read fiction for some kind of emotional involvement.
Uh-huh.
Like there are books I can look at which technically I can appreciate, and I can look at the sentences on a line by line basis and think, God, that's beautiful writing. But if they leave me cold emotionally, I'm probably out of there basically.
Right.
And um, I think all writing is basically about the communication of ideas and emotion and character, basically. But emotion, I think, has to be a central component. Otherwise, well, I'm not interested. And since I mostly write for myself, basically, I'm guessing the reader's not interested either. So, yeah.
Yeah, very, very thorough answer. I appreciate that. Titles. When you're working on your stuff, are they challenging? Do they come early for you? Do you change them?
Uh, Mostly come afterwards, usually by the time I have some idea of what the book is about.
Okay.
So I can have a start. I'm trying to think of titles. I'm not terribly good at titles in general. So there'll probably be the word death or angel or dragon in there, basically. But somewhere, maybe sword. But
Did you title all your own Cormac story collections and
yep,
novels? Yeah. All
yep,
right.
pretty much. Yeah, I was trying to follow a format you probably notice as well. It's always something of something.
Right.
The stories I give myself, the short stories I give myself a bit more leeway with, but the books are always something of something,
Yep.
So stealer of flesh, taker of skulls. You can see a theme emerging there, can't you? Body parts is
Right.
obviously another.
Right. And they're
Yeah,
very titles
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
be Fist of Doom or something like that will probably be the next one. Yeah.
Gotta be careful with that one
Book
though.
of History. Yeah, but
uh, it's an interesting question to ask because some people really struggle with titles. Some titles instigate some stories. So I always am interested in how authors deal with titles.
I can't imagine a title instigating a story for myself. I mean, I can understand that it might work for other people, but yeah, I just can't see it basically. So it's like, damn,
Well, I'm one of those, and I can read a line in. I have a spreadsheet actually
right?
of titles,
Tell me
and
more. We're talking technology here.
but I mean,
What?
I'll read a great sentence in your stories and Howard's stories, anyone's stories, and the phrase or half of a sentence that just goes, "Ooh, that'll be a good title." Oh, I know the story that goes with that title. I've done that dozens of times.
I can kind of see that if it's sparking an idea. I mean, fair enough. Like
Yeah,
that, I can get it. Not sure it would work for me, but I can
yeah.
sort of see how it would work.
Well, I have not written anywhere near as much as you either, so yours
Yeah.
worked.
I should probably just write like a script to make my titles. So maybe like some game tables. People
Right.
do this for role playing games. I
That's
mean,
true.
I could possibly make use of my skill set for this. The
Yeah, I
fantasy
like it.
book title
Ex-
generator. Yeah,
expand.
yeah, that's right. Branch out. Yeah.
All right, what's your typical timeline like from when you conceive an idea to writing it, cleaning it up, and saying, "This is it. It's going out."
Isn't one. It's like back in the day when I was writing tie-in novels, it was really easy. There was deadlines attached basically. So you would do this. It would be, in my case, mostly delivered pretty much exactly on time, with one or two dishonorable exceptions. Um, Writing for myself, like, could be anywhere from 6 weeks to 5 years and counting in some cases. So it's like
Okay.
sometimes, like, I go back to books after many, many years and think, why did I ever abandon this? Because that's the guilt is there's like tons of like half-finished manuscripts,
Wow.
sometimes 90% finished manuscripts sitting on my hard drive,
Wow.
which I cannot work out how to complete, basically, or I'm just not happy with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so I honestly could give you I mean, fastest is probably 6 weeks.
Okay.
And weirdly, it was actually for one of the most researched books I've ever done. It was
Interesting.
a historical detective novel called The Inquiry Agent. And it just happened to be for a period I studied at university in my history classes, and for which like I had read like an enormous amount of literature for like the early Victorian period. And so like I came primed basically.
Okay.
There was like probably like a lifetime's worth of research there, but it just went straight onto the page basically. So it's also written when my wife and son were off on a holiday. Like, so I had the house to myself for a month, so nothing else to do. So the vast bulk of it got done at that point. So
That's actually a very good timing. I teach a character writing class once a month, and I just did it
right,
last night. And one of the guests or one of the visitors, that was his question. He said, "When you're writing something and you realize something needs research, do you go research it and then come back, or do you write and come back?" And I said, finish the story, put it down, get it all the way
mhm,
through, power through, and then go make a note, put a check mark or highlight
yep,
it. I got to look
mhm,
into this later because there's nothing like disrailing the momentum of
yep,
a story, and you'll just go down rabbit holes if you let, you
yep,
know. Yep. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I cannot agree more. Yeah,
Yeah. So, actually, let me skip ahead. That's a couple questions down the road, but that's one of the ones that I asked in surprise. If I invited you to guest appear at my writing class, but you only got to say one sentence of advice, what would you offer?
learn to manage money.
That's a new one. All right.
Everybody's always so disappointed when they ask me for writing advice, but I've been a professional writer since the 80s, and that is the best piece of advice I can give anybody who actually wants to make their living from writing. If you want to do it as a hobby, if you want to have another job and write seriously, it's fine. But if you are actually going to earn your living writing stuff, you really need to be able to manage money.
Okay.
Because chances are you're going to get paid intermittently.
Yeah.
If you're collecting royalties, it's going to be twice a year. So you've got to know how to balance a budget. And I know it's the least, I mean, it's like discovering Conan the Accountant, isn't it? It's like a title that they never really got around to with the tie-in novels, but yeah. But I mean, seriously, I actually think that if you intend to be a professional writer, best thing you can learn. Um,
That's awesome. I
yeah,
appreciate that. That's great.
yeah,
See, the show is offering all sorts of knowledge.
yeah. I mean, from exactly the sort you don't want, but
Would you live in any of the worlds you've ever created?
absolutely not. It's uh, but let me tell you why, which is that sword and sorcery, fantasy, generally speaking, they take place in a world of evoked terrors. Like in the background, there are horrific events happening, often supernatural. And if you're writing about them, generally speaking, if you're going to write about frightening things, you're going to write about the things that frighten you.
Good
So
point.
I write about the things that frighten me, basically. So yeah, there's no chance I would want to live in any of the worlds that I've ever created. And much as they have interesting things in them, I think, because I also throw in lots of the things I would like to see. And sometimes, like, I think one of the things fantasy is great for is a sense of wonder and terror
Yeah.
combined sometimes. You know, it's like you can get things that are awesome and awesomely frightening simultaneously. I
Right.
think that's part of the appeal of it. And I think that I can't actually think of many fantasy worlds I would like to live in. I'd like to visit them or see them through the eyes of a protagonist, but live day to day, no thank you. Particularly not at my age, I have to say. You know, when I was younger, I had delusions of being a strapping young barbarian out to tread the jeweled kingdoms of the world under my feet.
Uh-huh.
Fair enough, maybe, but yeah, my age, yeah, 65-year-old diabetic, yeah, not happening really. So it's the uh, a
Uh,
short life to marry one, as Conan used to say. Probably just a short life in my case, but it's like
yeah.
that.
Good
So
point. That is a great description of fantasy worlds. The awesomeness of wonder, but also of terror. I like that. When you're all done writing, when you're calling it quits for the day, are you I just need a hot bath and a good drink guy, or are you ready to rumble and get out of the house?
Back in the day, I used to sort of like keep working hours. I'd show up and yeah, I'm just like the least art for art's sake writer you're ever going to talk to, really. And yeah, this is my day job, so it's like and I just like, yeah, okay. The problem is that for a man who tries to do that, I have a terrible habit of mixing my hobbies with my work. Like, yeah, reason I ended up in game development was because I was a really serious hardcore gamer,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it led me down a very long, interesting path to me at least. But it was so I mean, problem is like I switch off from my work by switching on to things that are other sections of my work, like gaming, for
Okay.
example. These days, I tend to do more physical things like walking or cycling or okay, that's it, walking or cycling, really. Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm only a decade behind you, but I'm trying to keep that walking really got to concentrate on adding it to your schedule. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
It's also a good time for thinking and not just necessarily about what you're working on either, although famously for most people, like good ideas come when they're walking.
Right.
My son was asking me about this earlier, and I was talking about the Romans. Was it solvitur ambulare? Solve it by walking. Yeah, like yeah, just if you got a problem, go for a walk, see what hits you. I mean, it tends to work for me actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it does. That energy level. All right, let's see here. So, what do you think is the most difficult thing you have ever written?
I again, you're not what anybody ever wants to hear. I don't find writing difficult. I'm not an open your veins and bleed on the page guy. Like I genuinely like my work. Like I actually enjoy it,
Okay.
and it's it would be different if I was wrestling with my personal demons or like dealing with like horrifying social issues or whatever. But I'm not. I'm actually generally writing books for entertainment in genres I like, and like and it's something I've had a lot of practice at. Yeah, I'm quite technically proficient at it. I like to think. So it's uh, what I find difficult is editing and like like what comes afterwards and letting go. That's why there are books that sit on my hard drive for 5, 10 years, basically. It's like I'm just not happy with them. Like
Right.
my, it was partly what we were talking about earlier. Like I'm a great believer that if you're going to write, just sit down there and vomit on the page.
Yep.
There's a really attractive image, but yeah, just get it out. Like write it. Don't give a shit about what it looks like till
Right.
you're done, basically,
Yep.
and have some confidence in your ability to actually do it. But after that, my inner editor takes over, and they're exactly the opposite. They're completely like relentlessly, remorselessly nitpicky, basically,
Right.
and also mostly aware of my weaknesses. So, and they can always find new ways of capitalizing on them. So, that's the bit I find hard. But generally speaking, I actually think yeah, writing should be fun.
How
Um,
many layers of edits do you go through?
Depends. Like there are
Okay.
some books you can look at and go, shit, this is good. I'm
Okay.
leaving it. That's incredibly rare, but it has happened.
Nice.
The book I wrote in 6 weeks was like that, which is why it was written in 6 weeks. I just thought, yep, revising is not really going to improve this much. Check the spelling and the grammar and such like, and yeah,
Right.
send it off. But there are books I'm still not done editing, and I'm now at that stage where physically reading the words bores me. I can feel my eyes glazing over, and you don't really want to feel that way about anybody. the horrifying thing is I can go away and come back 6 months later and go, what was my problem? This is good. But then something will distract me, and and I'll slow down again, and I'll start nitpicking, and then and it goes on and on and on. I mean that's the harsh part of my
Yeah.
creative process, really. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you would struggle with writer's block very often at all.
It's not so much block; it's finisher's block in my case. I
Okay.
think the
Good point.
it's the uh, it's more like, I mean, the great thing about writing to deadlines was that you had a deadline.
Yeah.
There was an absolute cutoff point, um, and the
If you
it
were
had to be done.
if
And
you were
even if it
managed,
wasn't done, it went in, and somebody would say, "This is shit. Rewrite it," basically, and you
right?
got fair enough. And but the and sorry for the language there, but
No, that's all
there
right.
you go.
And that ties
But
right back into your managing your money too. With a deadline,
yeah,
you know you got to
exactly.
get paid. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just the harsh reality of professional writing. Um, so, yeah.
All right. Here's a couple choices for you. Sporting choices. Would you rather swimming pool or shooting pool?
I once lost a pool game to a one-armed man, so it's going to have to be swimming pool. I'm not joking either. The
Hell of a player then, huh? Wow.
No, that's how bad I am. But
Tennis court or basketball court?
neither. The, the
And then driving range or target range?
Neither. The,
Okay.
the, I'm sorry. It's like I am no. I mean, I I just not a very sporty person. Like walking and cycling. That's it. That's
Yeah.
really the end of it for me. Basically, the have not much interest even in watching sport for the most part. So
With all the, I grew up in a very sports centric
yeah,
family and was addicted to it. And with all the 15 years ago, all the upheaval here in America, I got out of it and I freed up a whole day. My Saturdays and Sundays, all of a sudden, I have all this extra
yeah,
time in this last
yeah, yeah, yeah.
15 years. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's if people ask me like how I get stuff done, there you go. It's like
Yeah.
so very few interests outside the things I do, really. So, yeah.
Will you share your favorite quote with us and who said it?
It was Michael Moorcock, and you corrected me on it earlier. So, and now I can't remember it exactly once more, but it's to my creditors who remain a permanent source of inspiration, which feeds back into what I was saying about managing money and all the rest. It's also when I was young, I thought he was being really witty. Now I just think he's being really realistic. So it's I think he was being really witty anyway,
Yep.
but I now realize that there's a harsh kernel of truth to it. Yeah,
Yeah. He has a way with words, doesn't he?
he certainly does. Yeah.
And it's not so much that I corrected you. It took me a long time to actually track down, and I finally got someone to share me a picture of the front of. I found the book it was in, but I
Yeah,
couldn't find confirmation of it. So someone finally sent me a
yeah,
picture, so it worked out.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, you put because I'd completely forgotten what book it was. I mean, I knew it was sometime around the late 70s, early 80s. I'd read it. Basically, that's all I could remember about it
Yeah.
because I read like so much of his stuff, basically, and it was uh,
And
yeah,
apparently, it's only in the that third book. If you get the omnibus, it's not in the omnibus. So that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah. Big creditor got it taken out. Yeah,
probably.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
All
but
right, here is word association, spur of the moment. I'm going to give you 10 single words, one at a time, and I would like your first
are you
reaction.
my therapist or something?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm starting to wonder what's going on here.
This is
Yeah,
your I can't ever say his name. Rorschach test.
Yeah, I think it's Rorschach. That's what I would say as well. So,
All right, here we go. Monarchy,
king,
sea lion,
donkey. You asked for the first thing that came into my head.
oh,
Okay, neurons are misfiring powerfully here. So,
irritation,
Rorschach tests. Sorry, I actually did do that basically, but so I cheated on that one.
I like it.
You just gave me an opening and I went for it. So,
Malta,
sorry,
Malta.
knights,
Yeah, there we go. Trajectory.
artillery,
You actually cut out. What'd you say?
artillery,
Ah, there you go. We.
no,
Aroma.
smell. Yeah.
I should
Mixing my
separate them.
vocabulary here, aren't you?
Yeah.
This man has the word limit of a chimpanzee is what you're really looking for, isn't it? Go on then.
Sapphire.
Jewel,
Yeah. Twist.
dancing. That dates me.
Very good. And delay.
What I'm doing now.
Thank you for playing along with those.
I'm still wondering, but I sense some sinister ulterior motivation here, I must confess.
I won't be turning this in anywhere, you know.
Looking for my passwords, aren't you?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Oh, I
it's
never even thought of that.
Damn. Yeah.
Okay, so do you read nonfiction at all? And if you do you got any recommendations or current reads?
I'm now doing that aging man thing of reading mostly nonfiction and fiction I read when I was young, basically. So yes, I do read nonfiction and lots. It's primarily what I read these days. It's pretty eclectic. Recently, I read Life Cycles by Julian Sayera, which I would recommend if you're interested in cycling or cycling around the world or an interesting spin on politics. By a very angry young man, I might add, but a young man who can really write.
Okay.
I also read Vanity of Deleuze by Jack Kerouac, which I'm not sure whether I would consider that fiction, non-fiction, autobiography, or something else.
Vanity of what?
Deleuze,
Deleuze.
Deleuze by Jack Kerouac. I'm probably mispronouncing that.
All right.
It was it's French for the louse, apparently. It was his nickname as a kid, I think.
Okay.
A book that I remember really fondly from when I was 15, but which I found incoherent recently, and well written in places, but when I was a kid, like it changed my life. So I went back and I was reading an article about Kerouac recently, and I thought, oh, I remember Vanity of Deleuze, and I went back and reread it, and I thought, not really sure what I saw in this. I mean, I can reread it on the road and know what I saw in that.
Yeah.
Although it's one of those books that means very different things when you read it when you're 15 and when you're 30 and 45 and 60, as I've done at all times. Basically, your attitude and the way you respond to it changes completely depending on your age, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Got to keep that in mind. Do you have... I've reworded this question because I used to ask who is your favorite visual artist, but it's not so much favorite. I would just like to know some artists whose works move you.
Jack Kirby.
Okay.
I think that's nostalgia from my youth, but also the fact he was just a brilliant comics draftsman. Oh, yeah. He could tell a story. He could draw amazing shit. He was like visionary genius in many ways, I think. And I mean, I could just throw in most of the Marvel 1960s comic artists at this point, quite honestly. Philippe Drouet, whose name I'm probably pronouncing wrongly. French comic book artist, or bande dessinée, I would think it would be. The the amazingly good artist. The for fantasy and science fiction in particular, probably a very difficult name to spell. So
Yeah.
unless you're,
I'm gonna have an interesting time looking that one up because I don't know that name.
Euillet, probably with some profs or something in there. But look for Lone Sloan or Delirious. That will get you there a lot quicker than my spelling of the man's name. But look him up. He's really well worth looking at.
All right.
Yeah. Particularly if you're into fantasy, I have to say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I've seen the work. I just can't associate the name at the moment. Who do you think writes the characters you enjoy reading most?
Another one of those things that change with age.
Okay.
When I was younger, it would have been Robert E. Howard and Carl Edward Wagner and Moorcock. There's a very adolescent theme there in some ways, it has to be said, particularly with Elric, for example, who's like, I now think, when I read him, I think, this is the archetypal teenager, oh, woe is me. I'm the most powerful sorcerer in the world. I've got the most powerful magical weapon. All the women fancy me, but my life is so tragic.
Right.
I think, yeah, right. Okay, fair enough. Still love the books, don't get me wrong, but I kind of find it a bit hard to take seriously. These days, it would be Jim Butcher, Ben Aronovich, Lawrence Block,
Who did you say between Butcher and Block? Who did you say between Butcher and Block?
Ben Aronovich, English writer, Rivers of London.
Okay, all
right. And Larry McMurtry, I would add in there, fellow Texan, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. Swing back to your commentary on Moorcock. I'm in the very minority of people that his fantasy's entertaining, but I cannot put Elric and Conan together. Conan's sword and sorcery to me. I don't think Elric is sword and sorcery.
I think you may be onto something. He was deliberately written to be the antithesis of
exactly.
Conan. I get what you mean. I'm looking at this from a pure game design point of view, which I often do. It's like Conan's like very realistic in terms of the way the world. In terms of his physical capabilities, he is not. But in terms of like the way the world feels, but Elric's world feels very mutable and it's very high powered. Like demons. The world basically descends into bubbling chaos and things like that. It's very kind of reality is mutable and
right.
The thing about Howard's work is it feels concrete. The fact that he uses real world names as the background, a lot of stuff gives it that. The fact that he uses real world cultures, you don't have to make a huge leap to kind of visualize his world in depth. Like it's what I thought about Le Guin as well. Like there's a lot there by implication rather than by spelling out. Moorcock, the world feels like a millimeter thick. If you turn it side on, it vanishes. And I just made exactly the wrong hand gesture there, but you got what I meant.
Exactly.
I do think Elric's Sword and Sorcery, purely because he was designed as a kind of literary rejoinder to Sword and Sorcery. I think he's shall we use modern jargon and say he's Sword and Sorcery adjacent? But it's like, it's also, I think, I was brainwashed by Lynn Carter at an early age, reading things like Flashing Swords.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this earlier, knowing we were going to do this interview. I was thinking, like, how did Jack Vance get into a Sword and Sorcery anthology? He's a great writer, and I can see, like, The Dying Earth. Like, I can see why you would want him in your anthology, but The Dying Earth is kind of science fantasy meets.
Yes.
But for me, that's not Sword and Sorcery. It's kind of. I can see how it was derived from Zothique, particularly since Vance shares a tone with Clark Ashton Smith.
Sure.
But I can't see how you would think. The Dying Earth, teeters more towards science fiction, I think, than fantasy even.
Yeah.
But hey, Lynn Carter told me it was sword and sorcery when I was a teenager, so part of my brain still thinks, "Yep, sword and sorcery."
Right.
And the same, basically,
It's always something to debate, right?
yeah.
Let's see. How do you give depth to your characters, and do you treat primary, secondary levels differently?
Nope. Depends. Like if it's a walk-on part, it's dialogue and description. I think Roger Zelazny said it. He said, find three memorable things and just describe them, and then let them walk off again. Basically,
Okay.
if I'm going to do a scene from the point of view of a character, they are the hero.
Okay.
The world is seen through the lens of their eyes. Like if they think the hero is a wanker, the hero is a wanker. There's no debate about it. That's the way the world is when you're looking at it through their eyes.
Okay.
And it's because nobody thinks they're a walk-on character. Everybody thinks, and if you're going to present a character, yeah, from inside their own head, I think you actually have to pay them the respect of doing that. Like
Sure.
I think it also makes your books more condensing. It gives you kind of multiple layers. I mean, because again, one of the things I'm very aware of working in fantasy is often it's a power fantasy genre. And often it's Elric, what we're saying about what I was saying about Elric. It's like, yeah, I am the most powerful man in the world. Look how tragic my life is.
Right.
And there are people whose books, yeah, everybody has to praise the hero. My God, what must somebody's life be like that? Yeah, where everybody thinks of the coolest person they ever met. Nobody goes, even if you are the coolest person who ever lived, nobody goes through life thinking that. I mean, if I met the coolest person who ever lived, I would have thought, stuck up wanker, probably.
Homelander.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and basically, yeah, I think if you're going to give characters depth, that's how, yeah, in as much as I'm capable of it, that's how I would do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna be more critical-eyed at your stuff next time I read it to see how you do.
Well, it's actually how I did it. I mean, no kidding. I mean, like, I used to analyze Robert E. Howard's fight scenes to see how they were so convincing. And because one of the things you'll always see is people who actually can use swords saying, this is so unrealistic. And I have unfortunate news for those people. Nobody cares but you. Nobody reads the book for the technical minutiae of sword fighting. It's like, and it's what they want is to have the experience of a sword fight. And the thing is, I've been in fights in my life. And the thing is, nobody goes through the technical minutiae of fighting when they're fighting. You know, it's like it all happens too quickly.
Right.
And often you're too scared and you're reacting. If you've been trained in any way, shape, or form, your body's probably going through forms it's been taught and repeated hundreds of times over, basically.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, sorry, I'm here to alienate a portion of my audience this evening, I think, people who like technical sword fight descriptions. But to get to what I was originally trying to say that was slightly helpful, Howard is a very convincing writer. But if you actually look, it's very, very compressed. And one technique that he uses, which you will find in my work, I absolutely guarantee it, because I've copied it from him, is that he will describe one incredibly violent thing. Yeah, like somebody getting their arm chopped off and blood going everywhere. A lot better than that, you know, probably a bit more poetically being hard. But then he will shift registers and it will be in a whirlwind of blows, he chopped his way through the rest of the Varangian Guard. You know?
Yes.
I mean, there'll be a metaphor next, basically, that will convey power and motion and violence, but it won't describe the thing blow by. And the thing is, this is the sort of thing that works really well for readers because you edit it to suit yourself. If you're a master swordsman who knows how these things happen technically, you're probably thinking, actually, he couldn't do that. That's physically impossible if you really know how fights work. But if you know enough details to fill it in a way that's convincing, you'll do it for yourself. Yep. Most people will just have an image in their head left there and think, shit, Conan tore through those guys, basically.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so there you go.
Yep.
My writing sword and sorcery fights for this evening, plus how to alienate fencing masters. Probably a very dangerous thing for me to be doing. But
They
so
can't find you. You're well protected where you live, right?
there are plenty of them here, and archers as well, I might add. So
All right, we just have 3 questions left.
okie dokie.
Of your characters, would you have any of them as a close companion? Who and why?
Nope.
None?
Same reason as I gave earlier. It's like the we wouldn't have a lot in common. It has to be said. It's like for one, a lot of them are quite scary individuals, and their lives rotate around violence to a
Yeah.
greater or lesser degree in a way that I spend a lot of time avoiding. And it's so there's that. I mean, some of them I could imagine being friends with. I mean, most of them are perfectly reasonable people, with the exception of one or two fairly psychotic individuals. But but I can imagine talking with them or sitting in a bar with them,
Yep.
or
Okay.
but I can't imagine having enough in common with them. Like, it's not like we're going to play D&D together, you know. It's like, or yeah, play Warhammer on a tabletop, you know, or go cycling. But you know, or sit here chatting about sword and sorcery.
I'm going to rephrase this question. Who of your
Yeah.
characters would you like to go cycling with?
Probably the narrator of A Dragon from the Desert, actually, because he's my age. Because it's the story of like a teenage boy wizard.
Okay.
Yeah, the classic, basically, but told from the point of view of an old man remembering his youth, basically.
Oh,
so you've got a
okay.
double level of, and he is wrestling with. Again, I wonder why he's wrestling with many of the same issues that I wrestle with. So so we had that much in common, basically. So.
All right, here's one that puts some people on the spot, but free reign. If you could write anyone else's character from any medium, who would you write?
This is an easy one for me, actually, because I've done it. I mean, before I get into that, let me just say that most of the characters I would choose to write, I know I cannot, because it would be people like Conan or Kane or Fafhrd in the Grey Mouser, but I do not have the technical skill to write some of them, and I don't have the personality to make them convincing, which I think is one of the great mistakes of this kind of tie-in novel, is that Conan is, in my opinion, very much a projection of Robert E. Howard's fantasy self, basically.
Sure.
Kane is very much a projection of Karl Edward Magnus, which makes me really wonder about the man, I have to say. And well, Elric is everybody's favorite teenage boy, basically, I think. But, you know, I mean, or what they think when they're a teenager, you know, it's like, but I'm not Robert E. Howard. I could not write Conan. I could write characters I've created, because many of them are projections of me, basically. But yeah, but that sort of thing is difficult. I mean, and I say this as a man who writes tie-ins or has written tie-ins for a living. You know, it's like, I mean, another piece of career advice for anybody considering is pick things that you know you can do. Like, I mean, I would not choose to do any of those for the reasons I've just given. Illidan for World of Warcraft, which I actually wrote a novel about, was a character I found interesting, but I had not come to through fiction.
Okay.
So I did not have to look at him in terms of how he was presented from the interior, which most characters are if you're talking about written fiction.
Right.
He was a character who I had actually encountered in games, and who I'd been encountering in games for a decade at least, you know, since Warcraft in the 90s, basically. And so it was more a case of getting it right for other people than that, and there were people there to help me on that. Although, of course, there are still mistakes. As yeah, the internet is bound to point out to you if you just.
All right, here's where I admit my my lack of Warhammer. I don't know that character. Can you spell that name for me?
Illidan. He's not from Warhammer. He's from World of Warcraft.
World
Now
of
you
Warcraft.
really lost geek cred there. I have to say, your nerd point dropped.
I didn't grow up as a gamer. I've always wanted to, and I've never been surrounded by people that would play.
Ah, fair enough. Yeah.
I've played one game of Dungeons and Dragons in my life.
Well, I mean, fair enough.
So, how do you spell his name?
Illidan, Illidan, and it's for World of Warcraft,
World
which
of
is
Warcraft.
a computer
Right.
game rather than a tabletop game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, cool. See, I got things, and I'm slowly getting into the. I know it's not the same, but I've been slowly starting to read some Warhammer stuff beyond Warhammer Fantasy, which I have read several of the fantasy, but now I'm getting more into the 40K and all the
Right.
Age of Sigmar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, sidetrack. Last question. Are you trying to share anything in your writing?
Not consciously, I would have to say. I'm sure I'm sharing far too much by just splashing my messy personality on the page, but when I write, but mostly, I think if I was going to get like touchy feely about it, I would say I'm trying to share my love of the things I write.
Okay.
What I mean, like I write sword and sorcery because I love sword and sorcery. It's that simple. I'd like to see more of it being done in the style that I like. And God damn it, I have to do it myself. That's how it's going to be done. And the same with fantasy. But some of the stuff that's in me that comes out, I think, is I like to travel.
Okay.
And I think fantasy is another way of doing that. In your own head, basically. It's like seeing interesting and amazing bits of the world and encountering new things. Or I mean, certainly that's why I used to read fantasy when I was growing up, because again, place furthest from the bright center of the universe. This was before the internet as well. You got to remember, like, there weren't that many ways of getting. This was before role playing games as well.
Wow. All right.
And so, but
I love it. Bill, this has been an awesome interview, and I totally was not watching the time. We hit 55 minutes. that was a good one. But I've been enthralled by your involvement, so thank you. So now this is actually the time.
An absolute pleasure. And I say this as a completely antisocial man.
Yeah, I tried to. Well, I won't say his name, but he's like, nope, absolutely not. I don't do that. A gentleman of your generation. Also, I tried to get an interview.
I completely get it. I mean, I mostly do this. I mean, and it's not that I have any dislike for people. I'm just like,
why?
I mean, sorry, I'm just gibbering. I'll stop.
So we closed with 3 C's. I'd like you to tell us something of your work that's cold and you'd like people to remember and go back to it, something current, and if you can hint at something coming. So something cold.
One that would probably completely surprise people was the aforementioned historical detective novel, which was very close to my heart and actually did very well when it was released. But this was back in the days of when Amazon was really punting new writers on the Kindle, basically. So it sold really well out the door, but then it kind of sank without trace, basically. I think the algorithms changed or something, but also the fact that I never wrote any follow-ups probably didn't do any good either.
What's the title?
The Inquiry Agent.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get that exposed. We'll get a cover out here, and maybe somebody will start reading it again.
Well, you never know.
All right. What's current or most recent?
Most recent was, sadly, a good few years ago now, Dragon in the Palace, which was the boy wizard with pet dragon book we were young that we were actually talking about earlier, which really surprised me because I did not expect myself to be writing this sort of thing at all in my old age. But it's set in the same world as the Cormac books, which is even stranger.
Really? Okay.
Yep. And but seen from a very different angle. Like, I mean, it's basically the story of this kid who finds out he's a wizard and is reluctantly apprenticed to this warrior mage woman who tries to teach him. And he has all these absolutely tiny little adventures along the way. Like he finds this dragon's egg and hatches it. And but it's really weird because it's Cormac's world seen side on. It's seen from the point of view of a teenage boy who doesn't really understand a lot of the big picture, who's caught up in lots of events that are happening. Yeah, not to him. He's just peripheral to them. He's there while all sorts of world-shaking stuff is going on round about him. But he's like, yeah, what's important is I learn this spell here, or, I look after my pet dragon, or, I find out what my girlfriend's thinking, or whatever, that sort of stuff, basically. And so it's a very odd angle to be coming at Cormac's world from, because that's a world of, huge wonders and terrors, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a duology right now? The series is 2 books right now?
Oh, it's a very rude gesture where I come from, by the
way. Sorry. But, your whole face lit up.
You pick a window, you're leaving. But anyway, sorry, what was the question?
So it's 2 books right now, or is it more?
It should be 3 at least, basically.
All right.
But sadly, I've been absolutely plagued with ill health for the past few years, so it's been going very slowly. I start getting somewhere, like something else happens, it's like so.
Yes, in our communications over the last 2 years.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah, you've had.
I mean, the most recent one was falling off a bike and breaking a couple of bones in my face, basically. So I know it doesn't show in these ruggedly handsome features, but it's actually in my sinuses and stuff. So I suffer from a lot of weird pains these days.
Adds that barbaric, stature to your features,
and also that air of edginess that I cultivate so strongly.
All right. Lastly, what's coming then? So the 3rd book eventually in this.
Hopefully the 3rd book in this series, which is a dragon in the dungeon.
All right.
See what I did there? But yeah.
Yep. I like it. Yeah. Anything else beyond that you're working on, or is Cormac done? Did he?
There's a stack of unfinished books that I really would like to get around to finishing at some point. Like I said, some of these are like 90% done. Shall I just run through them just to give you some idea of like how abominable I am at finishing these things? Like there's one that started off on a Facebook group that I think we're both members of. A question that was re-asked just recently: what would Robert E. Howard be writing? Like, had he lived, or what would he have written? And somebody suggested noir. And I thought, oh, wow, there's an idea, like Hyborian noir.
Right, yeah.
So I actually went off and wrote a noir novel set in Atlantis, which is 90% done.
Thanks.
It's like classic noir, femme fatales, like people returning from the war to discover their old neighborhood has been bulldozed, and what they thought they had a life is completely gone. So that's one of them. There was my Lovecraftian martial arts movie novel, which was another absolute, which was, I wish I'd actually gotten that out before COVID, because weirdly it would have seemed so prophetic, because it opens with the heroes arriving in this city where this sort of necromantic plague has put spores in the air, and
Ah,
everybody has to wear these gauze masks.
okay.
And I think I wrote that in 1916 or 1960, 2016. God, so I give away the fact that, in fact, I'm an ageless immortal, which is why I've been putting down Karl Edward Wagner so much. I have not been putting down Karl Edward Wagner. He's one of my all-time favorite writers.
Yeah. Yep.
It's 2016, 1916. What's going on? But it's yeah. So where was I? I was ranting. Yeah. Then there was there's more. There's many more. Unfortunately, I forgot what they are. It's the early onset Alzheimer's is getting him, I'm afraid.
When you go back to a book like that that's been sitting there maybe since 2016, do you have to reread the whole thing, or can you just read the last chapter and pick up?
No, I have to read everything because there's so many different ones sitting there. You got to remember what you said. Okay. There's also the problem that a writer who revises as much as I do gets, which is occasionally you get confused and you remember the wrong revision.
Yes.
Like I've had books in print that I remember completely incorrectly.
Okay.
Because the readers are reading a different version from the one that's actually got written and then revised.
Wow.
But I remember the pre-revision version.
Yep.
I'm thinking, that's not what happened. And then I discovered that, yeah, actually that is what happened. So I'm still trying to remember these books. I've been talking about them. Lovecraftian Lovecraftian martial arts story, Hyborian noir, not really Hyborian, I say this for IP property reasons, obviously it's set in Atlantis. And there's a Cormac book, which is, again, probably 80% done, but which unfortunately I cannot finish because elements of its plot overlap with the third Dragonbond book.
Oh, okay.
And if I use them in the Dragonbond book, I'm going to have to rewrite the Cormac book.
Okay.
And there's a simple reason for that, which is the Dragonbond books sell orders of magnitude better than the Cormac books, which is another reason I find myself surprised to learn that, surprised to find myself. I did 11 Cormac novels so far. They were written really, really like Sword and Sorcery, as I said earlier. They were also written because I was trying to recreate the style of novel that I grew up reading, like relatively short, 40 to 60,000 word novels. And they really are. Like I deliberately chose to do that. And what I discovered is there's an audience for those books, but it's an audience of people like me. So it's not a huge audience, but it's an audience of people who remember the 1970s and late 60s Sword and Sorcery revival very fondly, but they're not books that break out. They're aimed at a very niche audience.
That's okay. I was curious about that, actually. That's too bad. Have you been happy with their exposure?
They always made enough money to make them worth doing because like I said, I'm commercially minded enough not to do something that doesn't pay, basically. But on the other hand, like the Dragon books, like I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like out the door, like they just went. I mean, and I thought, well, teenage wizard, baby dragon, young adult fantasy. I mean, maybe it just hit the right demographic. The problem is that I don't know. It was another book I wrote purely for myself. Like I was thinking about like, the jumping off point was stuff like Jim Butcher and man who writes really, really well, but whose name I cannot remember at the moment. Really famous modern fantasy writer. Writes in the first person. Wrote the name of...
Oh, Rothfuss? Patrick Rothfuss?
Rothfuss, yeah. I was attempting to do something in that style just because I recognized a Dickensian influence in Rothfuss, I thought. There's elements of David Copperfield in there, I thought. Yep. And it's one of my favorite books. I thought, wow, you can actually do this. Let's give it a try just to see what happens. So I set off and I wrote it. And this was a book I sat on because I thought, nobody's interested in this. but nobody who buys my books will be interested in it. So I literally sat on that book for 5 years before I released it.
Interesting.
And,
Okay. Well, I'm going to
and I
bring
was,
them both into the bookstore that I said I worked at. I'm going to take a look at and bring them in since you promised book 3.
yeah, well, I mean, you won't find them there because they're on Amazon, basically, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Sorry.
only Amazon?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I might
Yeah.
maybe. My boss has a sneaky way of getting things sometimes. If not all the time, but sometimes he can get them. So.
I might have to prepare them as paperbacks in that case because they've only ever been in book format. I'm sorry.
Oh, all
But
right. Well, you're making it really challenging.
yeah, well, yeah.
I have a very good, or our bookstore has a very good popular YA section. So
Right,
it might be worth putting it into print, especially if you've done it on Amazon. It's pretty easy.
right. Well, I'll bear that in mind. Actually, it's worth knowing.
Okay.
I just need to sort of like get my act together and start doing this stuff, basically. Yeah, but I think I had some point I was making here. I was listing the books, the very many books that
Right.
I've written and not actually released. There's a bunch of other ones, which I will remember as soon as we stop talking here. And I go,
Hey,
damn, I wish
you have shared a lot. So
too much, as is my want.
No,
So,
no.
yeah.
This has gone really well, Bill. I appreciate this quite a bit. We're gonna wrap this up now.
Yep, probably good. Otherwise, the SWAT teams will be appearing. In joke for anybody who happens to be watching there. But the SWAT teams might actually be appearing. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that'd make an interesting story to tell in a fantasy
Oh, yeah.
world.
Yeah.
All righty, sir. Well, thank you for joining 24 and 42 and letting us get to the life, universe, and everything of you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My great thanks to Bill for a quite enjoyable 24 in 42 conversation of his life, universe, and everything. Laughs and quips and almost fisticuffs aside, we covered a lot of ground, dropped lots of names, discussed how not to make our characters wankers, ragged on Elric just a wee bit, and examined the excitement and expectations of fantasy, particularly sword and sorcery. I enjoy reading Bill's stories. He was a delight to work with, and this conversation was a blast. Thanks, Bill, and keep writing that style of sword and sorcery we both like. Here's to cycling, my friend. Until next time, this wraps season number 2 of 24 in 42.